This is a picture of why spiritual intelligence is necessary. And I don't care if you're 12 years old, 13 years old, you need spiritual intelligence. And you're going to hear what I'm about to share with you. So I was praying this prayer, Lord, I want to walk in the spirit of discernment. I want to be more of what was going on. And one day I went to bed and I had a dream. Okay. In the dream, I was given a room. And in the room, there was a wall, kind of like a plain wall, like this. But the wall was covered up by like a cloth. There were some people in the room, they didn't realize what was behind that cloth. As I stepped into the room, I felt like I needed to take off that cloth. I took off the cloth, and all from the bottom of the wall to the top of the wall is what I would call idols. You know, like these, you go into like some, Indian restaurants and, Eastern religion, all these idols, they're kind of merged into the wall, but they're like ornaments, and the whole wall is full of them. Now, this dream, I was in two states. I was in my body and out of my body. Okay, so I am stood in the room, and my back is to the wall. But there's a particular idol on this wall that is getting my attention. Because in the dream, the idol was not just something on the wall. It had personality. It was real. And I could feel the power of this idol. Now, this idol was on this side of the wall, on my right, on the bottom right. And it is, if you know anything about Greek mythology, you probably know what I'm about to say. It was the head of Medusa. Anyone seen Medusa? Knows what Medusa is? If you don't know what Medusa is, it's the head of this woman that the hair is all snakes. It was right there at the bottom of the wall. And I could feel the personality of this thing. And I could feel the power of this thing. Everyone in the room was just going about their different business. But in the dream, I felt like I had to cut the head off. So, if you know Greek mythology, if you understand the story of Medusa, anyone who looks at Medusa, what happens to them? You turn to stone. Actually, in the dream, I didn't really know this. But, now how that actually, in my natural mind, I didn't know this, but in the dream, I knew this, if that makes any sense. Because in the dream, when I woke up, I told my wife, oh, that's the head of Medusa. I was like, oh, I didn't know it was called Medusa. Now, in the dream, I was very aware that I'm not meant to look at this thing. Okay? So, I'm trying to cut the head off this Medusa thing. And I don't know how to do it, other than I feel like I should just move backwards. By the way, I'm in my body and out of my body. So I'm observing the situation. At the same time, I'm trying to move backwards to cut the head off this thing. The sad part of the dream for me was I did not have a sword in my hand. But I was very eager to cut the head off this thing. And every time I tried to move back I didn't know how I was thinking of cutting the head. I was thinking of maybe just pulling it down or whatever. All I knew is there was a natural instinct of I need to cut this head off now. Every time I moved back, I felt the pain and the weight and the power of this idol on my back. This was not just a dream, this was an experience. Because I could feel the power of it. I woke up in that state of frustration of not being able to cut off the head of this thing. Do you know what happened? Obviously, I wanted to pray. I started to pray intensely because I've been praying, Lord, I want to know what I'm coming up against and what I am dealing with. When I'm praying for the nation, and when I'm praying for revival, and when I'm praying for people to get saved, I want to know what I'm dealing with. Lord, show me. And in this dream, I feel like God was showing me. Well, that day, I was speaking at a conference. I got into the conference, we started speaking, and I shared this dream, and I said, you know what? I believe that thing I saw is a manifestation of the spirit of Jezebel. Do you know anything about Jezebel? Revelations 2. This is what Jesus says. The church said, Jesus says to the church, this thing I have against you, you tolerate that woman Jezebel. She's teaching, she's seducing my servants with what? Sexual immorality. And by eating foods sacrificed to idols. So, one of the primary manifestations of the spirit of Jezebel, guess what? Sexual immorality. I didn't cut the head off in the dream. I shared this dream in the conference, and we started to go into some time of prayer. I said, you know what? I believe the Lord is revealing that we are dealing with the spirit of Jezebel in our generation more than we realize. The spirit of immorality is capturing the whole generation in the church. And we're singing songs to God, we're coming to church, but we're bound by all kinds of sexual perversions. So I said, you know what? We're going to pray right now. And this is the prayer we're going to pray. Lord, cleanse me from every inward toleration of the spirit of Jezebel. Anything in my soul, in my emotions that's attracted to Jezebel, cleanse me from it. Because you know what happens? Anyone who looks and engages with the spirit is paralyzed. There are many people in church, coming to church, singing songs, but they're paralyzed. The authority is neutralized. You say to my bind in Jesus' name, you can't bind the devil that's binding you. Daniel lived in Babylon, but Babylon did not live in Daniel. You can't have authority over the enemy that you're fighting in the day or sleeping with at night, Samson. Are you with me? So I said, we're going to pray. We're going to deal with this thing. After the conference, I go home. And we've got this thing called Apple TV. So it's not like TV, but it's kind of like internet TV type. Anyway, I turned it on. This is after the conference. Listen carefully to this. I turned on the TV. I don't know why. After the conference, I wasn't even watching it. My wife said to me, James, just look at the screen right now. Do you know what's on the screen? The head of Medusa cut off and held up like this. And it was the poster from somewhere. But the point is, I've just come from a meeting. Some of the prayers in that meeting was dealing with this spirit. And right there on my screen is physical evidence of the fact that I was not just having a dream, but I'm actually dealing with the spirit. And the fact that I saw the head cut off was a sign to me of victory. Thank you for clapping. By default, your spiritual life goes down. By doing nothing, you backslide. It's kind of like trying to raise up at a time when Jezebel, the person, was on the throne with Ahab. Doing all their craziness and seducing the prophets, and there's broken glass on the floor. The windows are open, the doors are open, the dog